Today we're going through part 2 of the Linux fundamentals room on tryhackme. If you watch our last video, we went through part 1, and the next video after this will be part 3. It's a 3-part series. Isn't that great? You can follow along on tryhackme, and the first thing that you would need to do on tryhackme if you're following along is to deploy this machine. So go ahead and do that right now, and then you will connect to it using Secure Shell or SSH. On the last video, we talked about some basic commands that you can use, but generally on every command, there's a series of flags and switches that you can use to be able to also specify your command a bit further. For instance, we're talking about flags and switches for the list command or ls. You can do ls-a or all, and it will also list the different hidden folders, which are folders that have a dot in front of them. You can also type in the command that you wish to use -help or -h, and the output will be basically all the different flags and switches that you can use in your command. That's a handy tool that you can use if you're brand new to a command and you're trying to figure out your way. There's also what's called the man command or the manual command, and that will show you basically the help manual for any given command. Next, let's talk about some more commands that you can use in Linux to be able to interact with your file system. Say you want to make a document. You can use the touch command. So touch and then the name of the file that you wish to make. You can also make a directory. So you can type in mkdir or mkdir, and then you'll be able to make a directory. You can also copy things. So cp or copy, and then the name of whatever you wish to copy. You can move things, so mv or move, the name of whatever it is you wish to move, and then the destination. You can also remove things, so you can type rm and whatever it is that you want to remove. Word of caution on this, sometimes you may not have permission to remove specific items in a directory. And so if you have sudo permissions, you might have to pull out sudo with rm. And in other cases where it's a directory, you might also have things inside that directory that might also need to get deleted as part of this process. But you can also recursively do that with the remove command, but I'm going to let you find that out by typing in rm-h in your CLI. Next, you can type in file, and that will really show you what type of a file something that you search for is. Next is permissions, and it's important. This is generally across most operating systems. There are 3 different types of permissions: read, write, and execute. If you have permission to read something, then you can open a file and read it. You can access the information. If you have permission to write to a file, then you can actually write things and delete and manipulate the file however you want. And if you have permission to execute, then you can execute different executables or programs or applications on a system. Not everybody should have all 3. And that's really where IAM or Identity and Access Management come in. And that's kind of a routine process. That's where a lot of the full-time jobs for sysadmins and net admins, that's really a lot of what they're doing is they're manipulating people's permissions to be able to make sure that people don't have too many permissions and people have just enough permissions to be able to get their work done. There's also something called sudo, and that allows you to basically run commands as an admin. Now, not every user will have full sudo permissions. However, some users might have more sudo permissions than they should, and that is how attackers are able to escalate privileges. That is a whole can of worms. So comment down below if you want to see me dive into that a bit more in a later video. Finally, it might be helpful to know how to switch users, and that's where the su command comes in. Su, the name of the user that you want to switch to. It is that simple. That said, you need to have permissions to be able to switch users. But whenever you do that, you will actually be able to switch over to that user and inherit their permissions level. Next, let's go through some common directories. /etc, that's going to have quite a lot of stuff in it. Really, all of these will, but Etsy sure is. /etc stores a lot of important files in your operating system. There's also quite a lot of cool tools in /etc, so feel free to take an exploration trip down there. /var basically stores a lot of the frequently accessed files by applications in the operating system. /root is the home folder for the root user, and the root user is the top dog. They have all the permissions, full control over the operating system. So really, you should not be running things as root, because if you break something, it's broken. You've broken it. And then /tmp or temp, and that's basically a temp file that stores random stuff that you might need to have in a given session. But it's not permanent, it is cleared out. So that is Linux Fundamentals Part 2. In the top video, we're going through Linux Fundamentals Part 3 to finish this 3-part series on Linux, and then we're gonna have one more section on Windows, and we will have completed the pre-security path on tryhackme. If you wanna watch the rest of those videos, check out the playlist there on the bottom, and in either case, be sure to like this video because we're friends. That's what friends do. Have a good one.